Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you today. We thank you for the people that are represented in this room tonight. We pray that you give us decisions on making responsibilities, and we don't take those lightly. Lord, right now we just pray for our government, our first responders, our military in action, and pray for the decisions made here tonight. Amen.
Amen. We'll call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock, straight up and down. Roll call.
Mayor Hicks,
Present.
Council Lewis,
Here.
Lucero,
Here.
Vasquez,
Here.
Reynolds. Here.
Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hurrah.
Just follow Len's. Do you have
This agenda?
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Second?
Council Reynolds?
Yes.
Yes. Rick? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
Chris, you want to talk now? Or you want to talk on the 7 trails when it comes up?
Is it gonna come up?
Do we have anything on here about the Riverwalk Trail? Yes, we do, number 7.
The 7 Trails of Gold Outdoor Festival.
Okay, come on up, buddy, and talk.
Hello, everybody. So, as you all know, last year the Main Street Project put on the first 7 Trails of Gold Outdoor Festival. We're planning on doing it again this year. And as far as I know, the city put up the insurance for the event last year. Is that correct?
Not that I know of.
We
Okay,
did for
that's
the park area, did we?
We always have insurance on the
Or
park.
parks area, yeah.
okay. So the city was involved. Brittany Birds actually was involved in acquiring the forest use permit for the New Mexico Off-Highway Vehicle Alliance. And therefore, that's why I was under the impression that you guys also put up the insurance. So I'll have to figure that out, I guess. But what I was going to propose or ask of you is that you guys would put up the insurance for the event this year. We're planning on having a slightly bigger event. We're gonna have the New Mexico Off-Highway Vehicle Alliance out here again. We're also gonna be putting on a mountain bike race. The newly formed Siebel Trail Alliance is gonna be conducting a mountain bike event out in the Zunies. And if that's something that you guys would consider, I think that, everybody would greatly appreciate it.
We can look into it, but I typically don't feel comfortable being responsible for an event I'm not in charge of.
Right.
And so if I'm running it and I put my criteria in place, I'm perfectly fine. But when somebody else is running an event, I have no guarantee of what's gonna happen. So I don't know.
I don't believe that
we'll
we
look
can,
into
I don't
it.
believe that we can use our insurance outside the city limit.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I did want to address the 7 Trails event. Is it all right if I address that?
Go ahead, buddy.
While I'm up here. All right. So like I said, we recently formed myself and a few others that use the trails around here. Chad Gaines, Les as well. We're all now part of this new organization called the Siebel Trail Alliance. And what we're hoping to do is to maintain and develop some new trails in the area. We earlier today had a meeting with Alvin Whitehair up at the Forest Service, and he wanted me to express this to everybody, is that the Forest Service would like to establish a working relationship with the city of Grants and the community of Grants so that we can start, kind of working together to start to develop our outdoor recreation opportunities here in the area, which I think that we would all benefit from. So that's something I wanted to say. I just got back from a Main Street conference, a quarterly conference in Santa Fe, and it was really cool. I had a lot of fun, met a lot of really nice people, and came back with some good ideas. I'm going to be collaborating with the Zuni Pueblo Main Street project on some public art here in the community. And so one of the things, I just want to tell you guys what I was thinking. The fountain right here in front of City Hall, we would like to sort of retexture and redesign it, maybe not change it too much, but that's one of the plans that I was hoping to get some approval on.
For the Bud Gunderson, that fountain out there
That
is
fountain,
a
yeah.
memorial of Bud Gunderson.
Yeah,
If you go out there and look at it, it's got a plaque for Bud Gunderson on it and whatnot.
yeah, well, the plaque could stay there, it could remain a memorial for Bud, but I think that it would be nice to kind of just give it
I agree.
some love.
I agree.
You want to give it a facelift?
Yeah, we want to give it a facelift. I think that, you know, it has been brought up in the past that Grants could benefit from having some more public art, and that would be a good start, you know. It would make our City Hall Park a little bit more appealing to people passing through and to the community as well. So,
I like the idea.
awesome. Glad to hear it. Yeah, and then another thing, murals. So we want to try to do some murals on some of the buildings. One of the buildings that we have in mind is actually the Main Street building, the east wall. So maybe we could talk about that later on, but I want to have a Zuni artist come out and do a mural on the side of the building. So just some ideas I'm running by you guys, so just so you know that when we start working on it, you're not shocked. You don't think we're vandalizing?
We'd
I don't think I'm graffitiing the building.
we'd like to see what you propose to put on the building.
Oh, definitely. We're gonna have some people submit some drawings and some sketches, and we're gonna you know pick out of the best of them, and we'll share them with you as well. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks.
Thanks, Christopher.
Barbara Wesley, you wrote your name down twice. You want to speak twice or just once?
Twice?
I did put my name down twice because I have two topics, and
Go
I
ahead.
wanted to be sure that if I ran out of time in 3 minutes, I couldn't cover both. The first thing I wanted to do is to report on the Grants Community Pantry. Last month, the month of January, they distributed 526 commodities. They have 700 families registered. And if a family is 2, that's 1,400 people. If a family is 3, that's 2,100 people. And this does not include the produce that's distributed every week. Then First Baptist Church purchases about 800 pounds of what they refer to as dry goods. And these are canned goods, these are staples, things that that they can keep in their pantry if they want. And they purchase that for anywhere from $130 to $150, and they distribute that through the First Baptist Church. And they have 200 families registered for their program at First Baptist Church. So, and they purchase what they distribute from the pantry. It doesn't, this is a partnership, if you will. So it's another distribution of the pantry distribution system. One of the things, I don't know if any of you have been out there recently, but the parking lot around the pantry has huge holes. Some of them are about 1 foot deep, 3 feet wide in some places. And it was suggested that when the city is repaving some of the streets that they're doing, if they have anything left over, if they could come out and just fill some of those holes in the parking lot around there. And then, I beg your pardon?
I'm asking Laura, do we own the parking lot?
No.
Okay. Go ahead.
Then the floor had been painted. It was beautiful, absolutely a beautiful floor. But something has happened to the floor. They no longer can get it clean. And it had been suggested that possibly there might be water seepage because it's right near the Rio San Jose, and that might be the culprit. Or perhaps there was a chemical on the floor that reacted with the paint that was put. We do know the paint was the proper paint to put on that floor, so we can't fault the paint that was, but it's, they can't seem to get it clean where this is coming up through the paint. So that's item number 1. Then I serve on the board of the Animal Care Center. And I have been there, I volunteered to help clean one day, and I was watching the workers there, how they go about cleaning those cages. They have a stiff brush with lots of soapy water that's got cleaning agents in it to a disinfectant of some type. And not only do they wash down the walls, but all the cage, all around that cage is soaped down, and everything goes out when they hose it down. It's really labor intensive, and in addition to that, they wash down the walls, they scrub the floors throughout the facility. However, it's also a very dangerous place to work. For example, the ventilation there, they're inhaling all that. When you walk in the animal care center, there's this odor that is overwhelming. And they're inhaling that filth all day long. In fact, it's gotten so bad, they don't even recognize that it smells bad. But someone walking through the front door recognizes that it's a really terrible place to work. In 1 week, we had one person that, I don't know if she was tripped by an animal, but she fell, twisted her ankle. Her knees are still, it's been 3 weeks now, her knees are still all scarred up from that fall. That same week, someone tripped and fell and injured her arm. Bringing back, I'm going to digress just a moment if I may, but I don't know when the filters are cleaned. I have a friend who cleans his filters and replaces them every 3 months. And no one down there could tell me how often the filters are replaced or cleaned at the animal care center. The ventilation and the fans, I have been talking about this for over a year, and I understand that some of the equipment has come in, but I don't think it's been installed yet. So they're in need of, I guess when I'm giving this, we look at our first responders, our police department, our fire department, our sheriff's department. When was the last time you heard of them being injured? But we have that happening at the animal care center. And these people are dedicated, and they can't get people to work. The ones that are there are extremely dedicated to the job that they do. And we need to do something about our animal care center.
So these were employees that were injured?
Yes.
Tripping over
Are you
dogs.
aware of that, Laura?
Yes, and it is something we're working on. We've had some accidents out there, so it is something, the smell we are aware of, and Les has been working on the ventilation and some of the fans. Do you want to talk about what you've been doing, Les?
Mayor, Council, and thank you, Barbie, for bringing this up. We're doing some research on, there's a recirculation system that feeds the air ducts. The outside filters are changed and cleaned every 3 months, but the interior of those filters was discovered that they have a membrane that needs to be washed a little more often than when it's ever been done. So we're right in the middle of it. We should have some more information. I've talked to the manufacturer just the other day, I believe Friday of last week, and there should be hope for a little bit better fresh air. And then I climbed around in the ducts. I think we'll be able to pull some ventilation from the office side into the other side and help a little bit also. And I do appreciate you expressing the concern for it, because we are right in the middle of it trying to get everything figured out. But the air is bad, and I think there's hope on the horizon. I think there's hope.
Barbara, you mentioned you had a friend, is that at an animal shelter that you've gotten some advice from?
No, it's someone that deals with ventilation that I had gotten some advice from.
Okay.
But you go into other places, other shelters, and they don't smell like this. And this is basically a new facility. We've only had it a few years, and yet...
I've never been in an animal shelter that doesn't have the smell. I've never been in a veterinarian's office that doesn't have a smell, Barbara.
Well,
And I have 3 dogs and a cat. 2 of them are rescue dogs. I mean, you're gonna have a smell when you have that many animals. That's just the way it is. Is there something we can do to take it down some? Yes, and we will. But you're gonna have a smell when you have that many animals. I don't care. Go to Dr. Morio's office in the morning, in the afternoon, after they've cleaned it. You're always gonna have a smell when you have that many animals.
So we are working on it and seeing if there's something we can do for both issues, any accidents, if we need to change any flooring, any footwear that our staff are wearing. Both staff, one tripped over or twisted her ankle on some gravel. The other one some dogs were running by and happened to knock her down. We looked at the video. We have cameras there so that we can see what's going on, and it wasn't something that was necessarily preventable on either, but we're always looking on how we can keep those staff safe and injury-free.
The other thing is that they're very, very short-handed there. They need extra help. And I've been trying to encourage the board to really be a volunteer board, but they're doing so many things right now that, for the shelter, that they can't come in and do some of the other labor things that need to be done. Also, there were 89 animals that were transported, I believe it was in December, to Utah. They drive to Utah and bring 89 animals over there because there's a no-kill facility over there where they can transport healthy animals. Thank you for your time, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
No appointments, public comment and discussion on our charter. Anybody out there want to discuss our charter? Anybody up here want to discuss our charter? Approval of the regular city council meeting minutes from January 22nd.
Mayor, I move to approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2008.
Second.
Second.
Council Reynolds?
Yes. Yes.
Vasquez, Council Lucero? Councilor Lewis?
Yes.
Rules and regulations for the cemetery board.
Did we miss the, oh, sorry, you're right. I thought we misread. So we have Fred Perea here in case you have any questions.
Come on up here, Fred, because I got some questions.
There are basically two items that the cemetery board is looking at changing in our rules, and one of them is to require that burials can require a vault to hold the casket. And so I did a little bit of research myself, and the purpose of that is to stop the ground from shifting so much. And we are having that a lot where plots are sinking quite a lot, and the staff, the CH2M Hill has to do quite a bit of maintenance to fill in those areas and keep from having sink spots. So many cemeteries require that there be a vault. And I was kind of wondering what that might cost for somebody that's doing a burial. I looked online, and it could be anywhere from $100 to $10,000, but the typical cost for a vault was $400. And so that's the one request that they're asking. The other is the number of headstones that are on a plot. So it looks like we can have a double depth plot where you could put 2 caskets, or you could put 1 casket and 4 urns. So it looks like our requirement now would be that there could only be 2 headstones, if I'm reading this right. Now, my concern with that is if we have 5 people in a plot, let's say we have a casket and then 4 urns on top, I'm gonna suspect most people will want a headstone for each of those individuals. So I spoke with John today, who oversees our parks, John Baca, and he oversees the cemetery burials. And I asked him, is there a problem if we have 5 headstones? And he said, not if they're the correct size. You could have 1 at the head and then 4 down the plot, basically. So Fred, you might tell him more of what the cemetery board's looking at. And you know, I really like to say that we have such a great cemetery board. Fred chairs that, and those individuals are so dedicated. Not only do they meet monthly, but they're at the cemetery quite frequently. And if something's not being done right, they sure let the staff know. And they keep on top of it. They intercede for when we have complaints from people who might be at the cemetery, and just really help us know how to have a great cemetery. We appreciate that.
Going back to the walls, as you know, last summer we had to, there's indentations in the, or subsidence, what do you want to call it? And they didn't have no vault. The casket deteriorated because it's real wet over there, sandy. Where we have a vault, Edward can watch for this, you know, it holds for a longer period of time, you know? Like you said, it goes from $100 to $400-$500, that's what, you know, we've been checking the other mortuaries around the state. And headstones, we measured, I think I went out there and measured with Cindy and Dean, I believe. And you get the person that's buried there, is regular, bigger than the other ones. And then you have, like say, 4 urns on top. And those are supposed to be, if I'm not, 1 foot by 2 foot. That's what we came out with, right? Because in that measurement, you're gonna go all the way to your 8 foot, because that's an 8-foot grave, so, you know. Because it's gonna be hard for maintenance if you put a different size stone, like some of these homemade rocks, lajas, or whatever you're gonna call it, because the grass grows in between and the mower can't get in there. And with this uniform type stones, it works pretty good.
Can you put multiple names on a stone?
Right?
Well, here's
names?
my problem with the
Yes,
headstones,
yes.
guys, okay? Here's my problem with the headstones, I'll tell you right now. My uncle is a veteran, okay, so he's got his veteran's headstone there, and he's got a headstone for him and his wife when his wife passes away. That's 2 headstones on 1 grave. If there's already an exemption in here for the maximum size of headstones, except American service veterans, because our headstones come bigger than that, okay? And that's the only exception. So as far as the headstone goes, you need to have that exception for the service members too.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of them out there that already have 2 headstones on the grave. They've got a headstone from the Veterans Memorial, and then they've got a headstone that their family has put there.
So Fred, are you okay with more than 2 headstones as long as they're uniform and the right size?
Maintenance type, we're all right with that.
So as long as we specify the size so that they cut, you know, they're not going beyond the,
Yes.
Yeah, because they
The
go
plot.
staggered all kinds of sizes, like I said, they put rocks, no problem.
And the only exception, again, would be the veterans one like you have here on the section page. I've got no problem with that, guys.
No problem.
I have a question. It has in here about the vault required for the casket, but if I'm reading this correctly, they're not required for the urns?
No, I don't think we can.
Because
no.
And the urns,
if you have the casket and when you go in an urn, you're going to go in unless you're going to go take out the casket. Normally, they put the casket lower, and the urns go on top.
Yes,
If the urns are not vaulted, then you can have some possible sinkage because they're not going to be vaulted. And I just arranged for my
we're
burial and
considering too, Cindy,
Yeah.
on people come up here, they can't even afford to buy an urn, an urn plow. And you have to buy a vault for that, it's up to you guys. You know, but that's expensive for them. You go down 5 foot with a regular burial, and you go down 3 foot
with the urn.
with
the
an urn.
urns.
They're just-
And some people just put the little jar down there, others buy a little fancier box, you know?
So Fred, is the thought that the urns aren't as heavy, so you don't
No.
have the sinkage?
They're
You're
not.
not giving it all.
No, I've had some,
You're thinking about as
I've
it,
had some that the mortuary
Yeah.
gives me out there.
yes, as it goes
But
down.
when these
the
guys
water
come to
gets-
bury, we just put it down there, and they're not that heavy.
And
It's
you know what we
no-
could do there too, because there's a lot of grains that have that sinkage in it, is have them come in and fill it in and we'll replant the grass.
Well, we're already doing that.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, so that's your maintenance on it right
You know,
there.
and then when you do that, you have to
Yeah.
raise the headstones, and then you fill in, and then you have to relay. So not having the vault, it's just where I'm going, it's not here.
Are you having any
Vault
complaints,
is
Edward?
required for urns.
In some places, huh? In
Yeah,
a lot of
where I'm
places.
going.
Okay, where you're from.
I got one for you, Fred.
What are they?
You're gonna have urns
Are you going
there
back to Washington or what?
on the graves or around there. Are they all being marked that they're there? Do you have a blueprint of all that? Who's there and what's that?
Yes, the city clerk does have it. when somebody's buried there, old Joe Blow there, on A31 or whatever,
Back to Seattle, huh?
before they get the
I'm staying
stone, before they buy the stone for the urn, they say the first one, we have now a deal where we have a block, and we send it to Mr., I forgot what his name was. He makes a little temporary plat on it, and we screw it, and we put the block in there, the brick.
The brick, right?
And then when the family buys a headstone, we take that and put the permanent one there. In the meantime, she takes strike of it.
So Fred, are you recommending that we require a vault? Is that what your board's
I would.
recommending?
A vault on the
Maintenance,
caskets.
you can go out there now, Mike, and, you see this,
Yeah.
quite a few.
And
And they required before, but you go out there, and when they're burying somebody, nobody goes out there. We should get involved in this.
Even if there's a vault.
It's so sandy that these guys sometimes have to they do put plywood, so they won't cave in on them. It's real sandy, real soft stuff up there.
Mayor, I recommend, I move that we approve the new rules and regulations recommended by the board
With the changes to
With
the
changes.
headstones.
with changes.
With the changes to the headstones.
Just to the headstone.
I second.
Council Reynolds?
Yes.
Council Vasquez? Council Lucero? Council Lewis?
Yes. Thank you, Fred.
Thanks, Brad. Make sure you get more than one headstone there. Mechanic shop report. I don't see Mr. Wheeler out there.
I'm Mr. Wheeler tonight,
Aaron had basketball practice this evening. I
and
guess
Delton
he's
had car
coaching.
trouble. Yeah, so we've got a handout for you. So Aaron Wheeler is our foreman and Delton Vandiver is our mechanic. The number of vehicles we have here in the city are 130 vehicles that we serve, the oldest being a 1988, and our newest is a 2017. This includes cars, vans, pickups, and heavy equipment. On average, we service 12 vehicles per week, making 10 to 20 outside calls per year. Our scope of work includes problem diagnosis, engine repair, tire repair, oil change, brakes, hydraulics, electric, and welding. And we're very happy to announce that this year we have opened up the car wash bay again, and people seem to be really enjoying being able to clean the vehicles. And I've noticed running around town and stuff that the vehicles are looking much better. And we are still working on getting our older vehicles repainted. And we want to thank y'all for listening to us this evening. And any questions?
Questions?
Chris and the mechanic shop have done a great job of making sure all of our vehicles that had dents got repaired this last year. That was one thing that always bothered me, is when we didn't repair vehicles and we're
Well, it looks
driving
like we
around
don't care.
town. Right.
It looks
It
like we don't
does.
care.
So I believe most of them, we've
We
got
still
a few
have a lot
that need to
with
be painted.
seniors.
Yes, from the senior vans, some of the
Yes.
older, but most of the others, we had a recreation truck that got repaired, I believe an animal care center.
We've done 3 animal care, we've done recreation, Bob's IT vehicle. I think what all we've done. We haven't done any of ours, have we?
Do you have something, man?
I do. How extensive are you going into engine repair?
They can go fairly extensive at times. Right now, we're
Explain-
working
explain
on,
that to me.
you're asking the wrong person.
That's why Mr. Wheeler
Okay,
should
right
be
now,
here.
right now, we've got engine 5 torn apart, and there's a motor oil leak, and there was also an antifreeze leak. And so,
We go as far as intensive as pretty much replacing everything, but going real deep into the pistons, rods.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
you know.
we'll go as far as heads, intakes, valves, and stuff like that. We won't go real deep into it, and if it's something really major, we try to, solve it. If we can't, we'll send it out.
and we don't rebuild
Yeah.
engines.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. That's
Yeah.
how extensive where you're going. And then how about your diagnostics? tools, what kind of diagnostic tools do you have for all the new ones and the old ones? Because they'll give you a different reading if you don't have the right one.
Right, and we had bought a new diagnostic tool this year, and it is a faulty tool. So we're researching another tool at this time, but we also have a program called All Data, and we can put in codes, you can put in, you know, my car doesn't do this or whatever, and it will bring up diagrams on how to fix it. Also, it will, wiring, it'll break it all down the diagrams. It's a wonderful program. It's $1,500 a year that we pay for that program.
Well, the reason I say that is because a lot of the tools, the diagnostic tools that they have, won't interchange with the new ones and the old ones.
Correct.
So I would like to see you guys have some up-to-date stuff, so you could really find the problem, because a lot of the cars nowadays are not so much mechanical as they are electrical.
Exactly. We have, in the last year since I came, we have bought a lot of new tools. These guys didn't really have tools. We didn't have tire racks. There was a lot we didn't. So we did spend quite a large amount last year to get things more up to date. And like I said, right now I am researching to find a new tool, because we do have a diagnostic tool, but it is an older tool. And the thing on those diagnostic tools that surprised me is how much it costs to update those tools. And you're having to update them like once a year.
Yeah, they change the wrench sizes, they change the screw heads, they change everything, that's how they continue to make money.
Exactly.
I mean,
And those updates can be up to $1,000 for those machines. Yeah, so I'm trying to find something that automatically updates, that we pay a little more for, but it automatically.
But I want to thank you for taking over that mechanic shop and actually doing work on our city vehicles, which hasn't been done in a long time, and maintain them. Everything is about maintaining your vehicles.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the equipment, the track hoe. The paving equipment.
Yeah.
All that stuff that we spend a lot of money on, guys, we need
Yes,
to
we
take
have.
care of it.
We're very proud of our equipment.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Resolution 18-1579, adoption of required community development block grant annual certifications and commitments.
Donald's prepared to speak to you on this.
This is something we gotta do annually for the CDBGs, guys.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
that simple.
a-
There's a couple of them that we gotta
You
have
gotta
some
renew.
events on, but other than that, it's pretty much standard.
It's just a
as
standard
plan,
deal.
so.
Questions? Motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve resolution number 18-1579.
Second.
Second.
Council Reynolds?
Yes.
Council Vasquez? Council Lucero? Council Lewis?
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Precinct, board member recommendations. We did this once, but we have to have different ones for the absentee, so we need to redo it.
So we have the list there of different people for absentee.
Questions? Motion. Going once.
I move we approve precinct board member recommendations for the March 6, 2018 municipal election.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Council Reynolds?
Yes.
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution 2018-1581, delegating authority to the city manager to acquire real property and interest necessary for the construction of the Riverwalk Trail from the Riverwalk to Harrison Street.
Mayor and council, instead of coming back and forth with every property that we may have to purchase for the project, we just want to do a blanket, and it does say in the resolution that it'll be at fair market value. We had discussed earlier if we wanted to add an amount, maybe 30,000, because it's already, the requirement's 20,000 now.
Yeah, right now I can approve anything 20,000 or below 20,000. So we don't anticipate, we don't want to spend any money on this property, and we don't anticipate that it'll be worth more than a couple of $1,000s any piece. And we didn't know what you would feel comfortable. We didn't think about it, but the group that's doing the right-of-ways for us recommended we do this from their experience with working with Santa Fe, the community of Santa Fe. But I'm gonna guess the properties that they were acquiring were substantially, cost quite a
Oh,
bit.
yeah.
So that's what
Santa
they
Fe
were
compared to
thinking.
grants?
Oh, yeah.
We're on a time frame. So they were saying that they found out in that instance that it really slowed them down to have to go back to council every time to get a property approved.
Now, these people aren't telling us that if they wanna donate the property, we still have to pay for it, are they?
No,
Okay.
no.
Cause almost everybody along there has agreed to donate it.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
actually meeting with, just for a quick update, we're actually meeting with property owners this Thursday and Friday. So things are moving pretty quickly.
So
And, so we'll find out which ones, want,
A
monetary.
compensation, and,
Yeah.
and some of them might just want a fence, lats in it, something like that. I don't know. I
How many
say,
properties are out there?
all the way
There's
down the
9,
Rio.
I think 9.
Way down the Rio.
Yeah, the DOT is making us go through this process because we have to legally tell the owners that
What their property's worth.
Yeah.
that they could ask for us to pay for the property, but we're trying really hard to get it all donated.
And my recommendation is that we go ahead and give this to Laura, to her and Donald, and let them deal with it. There's no reason that we need to bring all these properties back to council, because it's just gonna take a lot longer. And like we've said, we've almost got every single one of them to agree to donate it anyway, so. That's my recommendation, that we give it to Laura the authority to do this, guys.
Well, Mayor, I make a motion to, on resolution number 2018-1581, to give the authority to Laura to purchase the property.
Second.
Second.
Council Reynolds?
Well, I
I
have to
know.
be consistent.
Go right ahead, girl.
It's a no.
Yes.
Rick?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. Number 8, right-of-way property. This one here is another no for Sydney, but this is for the Tierra right-of-way people that we gotta pay some more money to.
Well, actually,
Go ahead, Donald.
last month you guys approved this to CBS, come to find out, Tierra
Tierra
right away
is not a CBS.
vendor. But it is below the 60,000 required to go to RFP, so we could approve it with the memo from Laura, we should be fine, but that's why Tierra's, we thought, that they're a limited vendor, not a vendor. What the difference is, I don't know. But anyway, we can't go to them for CS, so we gotta go directly with Tierra.
So we wanted to do this legitimate and have you approve it to the correct vendor.
So
Which
I'll
will be
entertain a
Tierra.
motion
This is Tierra.
Yes.
But,
to go to, go ahead, go
on
ahead.
this one,
Go
on
ahead.
8, I have a question on this one.
You go right ahead.
You know, it has, the cost is 54,780 to Tierra right-of-way, okay?
Yes.
But with Tierra right-of-way, that amount does not include per diem mileage or lodging if applicable. So, per diem mileage and lodging will be charged according to current published GSA and IRS rates. These costs have not been included in Tierra's cost estimate above, so it could be a little bit more.
There will be no lodging, just because Megan Bayer, the representative from Tierra, we've discussed that.
There will be no lodging?
Yeah, there will be no lodging.
I just wanted to point it out. I mean, you know it's gonna be another no.
Okay.
Consistency,
Yes.
Consistency is good.
consistency,
If we get it done sooner, it could be a little less, right?
yes.
That would be like,
That's not gonna happen.
I know.
I'll entertain a motion to pay Tierra right away, 54,780.
And actually, it's a little less, because CES is a 1%.
Oh, that's
In
right.
addition, so it's gonna be a little less.
It'll be a little less.
Than what we approved last month.
And who did we approve it to last time?
CES?
Yes.
Yeah. That's all we're doing, we already approved it
We've already-
once, we just need to reapprove it.
CES
To
is
the
like a
right
co-op.
people.
You guys are worse.
So somebody gonna make me a motion, or are we gonna kill this?
Don't look at me.
Yeah, we've already approved it. so,
Yeah.
Yeah, I move we
Thank you,
approve, 54,780 to Tierra.
my second.
Second, Counselor Reynolds.
No.
Annie, Rick, Mike,
Yes.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Airport fuel approval, 34,480.
So this is basically the fuel that we periodically buy that they resell to those that fly into the airport. It's above the 20,000 that I can approve, so we're asking for council approval.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve purchase order for the purchase of aviation gasoline
I second,
and cargo oil.
I second,
Council Reynolds?
yes.
Manny? Rick?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Financial report.
So I wanted to introduce our new city treasurer, Kimberly, want to come up, and this is Kimberly Simpson, and she started full-time on the 28th, but she was kind enough to start coming in during the month of January to start helping us get things ready because we were in the middle of our audit. And so Kimberly has done a fantastic job so far. Our quarterly report, this second quarter report was due the end of January, and she got it in on time. And so we have the top sheet for you with our budget if you have any questions, and included with it we have the lodger's tax report behind it. And then I included a gross receipt tax history so that you can see where we're at and how we're doing on gross receipts.
Thank you. Finally. Great.
So, and actually, Kimberly and I were very happy to see that we're doing okay on gross receipts. I'd like for you to notice in FYI 15-16, for the month of August, we actually had a really large gross receipts tax amount. But then remember we got this big drawback?
$733,000.
So I need to go back up there because they only gave me 1 month of records and I'm gonna need to ask for several, but I'll ask all the way back to that. But that could be what happened, somebody overpaid that month and then that's where the drawback may have come. Cause the amounts are fairly close. Cause typically we're getting anywhere from 500 and some thousand to 800,000, and that was $1 million and some. So maybe that's where it fell, you know. But if you look at, we're really staying about steady with our gross receipts. If you look at our budget too, on the first sheet, our projected revenue for the year was 27 million. And right now we're at 14 million. So we're at a good standing halfway point. This is halfway. Although our expenditures were projected at 31 million and we're at 22. But we've done most of our big projects already. So George Hanisch, the library, a lot of those are done. So we've told everybody, okay, whoa, we're gonna slow down now for the rest of this fiscal year and do the necessary stuff that we do need to do.
And you know, and I commend Laura, Francis, Kimberly, because with that $733,000 hit, they've done a heck of a job to make that up. It didn't hurt us so bad. There's just no other way to put it, guys. We've got some great people working for us, and they need to be acknowledged.
That's true. We also, and the public should understand that the mayor, the county commission chairman, they don't make decisions about spending money.
No, we don't. Everybody.
The council makes decisions about spending money.
That's right.
And Laura is the one that keeps these things stable. And Laura is the one that stops bad decisions from being made.
And she's done a heck of a job. Let's make that perfectly clear right now. Period.
But again, I have a question.
Go right ahead. I wouldn't expect anything else, Cindy.
You know, on this one, on the third page, for promotional funds, why is Grant's Main Street project 0?
They didn't get an award for this last year, or it was 9,000 I think, and maybe it'll be spent later. They haven't spent any.
Oh, they haven't spent.
Right.
Okay.
They haven't asked for any reimbursements to date.
They haven't asked and they haven't spent.
I'm trying to remember how theirs fell, but they got 9,000. I don't remember if it went in last fiscal year or if it's still coming up. But you know what? It probably is for June. June coming up because your event's in June. So that's when their expenditures will fall.
Okay. I thought they had some money coming to them. I just wanted to make sure.
Any other questions?
Good job, Kenny. This is more information than we usually get, thank you.
And it will, I was explaining to Manny this morning, he came to my office to go over it, and when you get the third quarter one, it will be very good, trust me.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
I
I do have a question.
Yes.
Laura, does this, these numbers from our gross receipts income, do they reflect that particular month? Like when we see a number for August, that's during, or is that when we get the check for July?
It's
or-
the month it's earned, so that way we can tell if any events are affecting it. And I specifically tried to make sure to do it that way because then we know, okay, the quad was done, or the bike rally, or whatever.
Right, thank you.
And actually, we have the numbers for November, December, and January, but we just got down to the witching hour and weren't able to put them in there. And they're all they're all just over 500,000 still, even for the last 3 months, so.
Thanks.
Good numbers.
Kimberly, thanks for taking time out and explaining it to me, okay?
You're welcome,
I'll
anytime.
entertain a motion to accept the financial report.
I make a motion to accept the financial report.
Second.
Second.
Councilor Reynolds?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilor Voskis, Councilor Lucero, Councilor Lewis.
Yes.
Comments, Laura?
I just wanted the council to be thinking about fire restrictions. We're having such a severe drought that there is a possibility we may have to do restrictions on fireworks. And so we need to let the public, especially our vendors who sell fireworks, know that early on. And I know the Forest Service is already looking at their restrictions, and we could raise the restrictions, but I don't want to at the last minute be telling them in June, you can't sell fireworks, and they've already purchased their materials. So something, we want to think about, and I'm especially cognizant of that after seeing the fires in California. And I realize that one little spark can do a lot.
Councilor Reynolds?
Well, we have a couple issues, but along that line, if we don't have any water, moisture, are we gonna start thinking about a little bit of water restriction? Like I'm thinking I tend to water according to the Albuquerque schedule in the summertime. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday or something. Just to start to let people aware that maybe they should be monitoring their water other than just by their water bill. That's just something if we don't have moisture, we're just using up the water.
That's true, and I think we could use CH2M Hill and their expertise to help us, because I know when they're pumping and filling the various water tanks that it gets kind of iffy at times whether we're going to have enough. So, Edward, be thinking about some guidelines you might want to help us set for our community.
Yeah, start
Praying for rain.
Yeah, or do
And if
it.
you know any Yakimas or Lagunas, call them to dance. Okay?
And my second thing is, I know this is just sad, but I'm still wanting to see new golf carts for the golf course.
Amen.
I do want to see them. I heard through the grapevine, I don't go to the golf course, I was kind of told that they prefer to talk to others, and that's fine, but I started with golf carts and my time's waning and I'd like to see golf carts.
Thank you, Manny.
I got two things. I'd like to introduce a young man that wants to get involved in our government, how our government works. Keegan Williams, would you please stand up?
That's the good-looking man that came in earlier.
He wants to learn more how the government is. Okay, and hopefully I can get more kids from the high school to come up and see what the government's doing and how they can get involved. The other thing is, I want to commend Edward for the great job you've done with these cold nights and water lines breaking, and having to go back and do them, and everything is shifting, and I want to thank you, and I think you guys are doing a great job. And the other thing is, I didn't know you were born in 1830 or something like that, was it? You got 30 years here already?
I do.
thank you for being here 30 years. Hope you can stay longer.
He is. Rick?
Yeah, I've got something along the golf course. You know, you probably walk your dog out there every morning.
I sure do.
There's other people walking their dogs out there in the afternoons. I've been approached by some people wanting to expand our golf course into maybe a trail where they could walk around, take their dogs on a leash. I think that's a great idea.
Great idea.
People are already going out there walking their dogs, so I think we need to.
My dogs love the golf course, guys.
Yeah.
They go crazy, man.
Make sure they pick up a poopy bag, okay?
Yeah, we can utilize that idea, you know,
Love it.
and have those stations along the way.
Right.
Right.
But, I think we need to take a look at expanding our golf course to others. Yep,
All the way around it.
so.
Anything else? Mike?
This may be my last meeting to attend. We may not have a meeting in 2 weeks. I wanted to say thank you to all of the city staff. They're a great group of people to work for. Any questions I ever had, they were ready to answer them. Any information I ever needed, they would find it for me. So I want to say thank you to our clerk, Cindy, and especially to Laura. She manages this group of about 100 people. And so we have a smooth operation here that works very well, and the city's in good hands. Thankfully, these seats change every 2 years, so when we get some bad actors in these seats, they don't last that long, so that's good. I want to say thank you to the press and to the journalists that cover this group of people and all politicians. You guys are the ones that hold us accountable. You're doing a good job. There are a lot of fakers out there and liars and thieves, but there's a lot more of them in politics than there are in journalism. And thank you for doing a good job, and I've never seen anything that I was really disappointed in. Donald, that goes for you too, because you were part of the group there for many years, and thank you. And appreciate working with all the counselors and the mayor for the last few years. It's been a lot of fun, and I wish I was here. I'd be running if I was here. Some of you may or may not know, we're moving just 18 miles from here, so I won't be a citizen of Grants anymore.
Thank you for your service to the city, Mike. And as Mike said, we may not and probably won't have a meeting on the 22nd unless we have something really big go down that needs to be done. We're just not gonna bring people in after a holiday if we don't have to. Les, did you have something?
You know, I do real quick, Mike. I know many of you have a lot of questions about the Mount Taylor Winter Quadrathlon.
Is it a biathlon this year?
It's a biathlon this year. It's gonna be a bike and a run and maybe a snowshoe. But we have over 150 people already registered, and traditionally we get 50 people in the last week or so. Kind of good news for us, but bad news for Chama. They canceled their snowshoe race, so because of lack of snow. So we might get some of those folks our direction. So it's gonna go off no matter what, and it's always a good time. It's always fun. So you know, if you want to volunteer, we'd love to have you. We have spots for you, but the quad's gonna go. Thanks.
Thank you all for coming. I'll entertain a motion to close this meeting.
I make the motion, Councilman.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Have a good night. Thank you, guys. Mike, thank you very much.